you. He's in the kitchen. He's all dressed in red and white.
Oh, Kitty, you dear sweet thing. The simple fact is...
Ho, ho, ho!
See? He came.
He always does. Merry Christmas.
Hello and welcome to Haunting Button House, a BBC ghost podcast. I am Luke and I am joined by Tash, as always. How are you?
I'm disgusted by what just happened.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Leave that for everyone's imagination. What have you been up to?
Oh God, that question always catches me off guard. Every England won the football.
Oh yeah.
We went to the pub to watch the England versus.
Is where you offend a European country?
Slovenia.
I can't remember actually myself now.
That's terrible. I think it was
Slovakia, I think it was, yeah.
And it was a good game. We won.
It wasn't a good game.
Well, it was good. Like, I thought it was a good game. It was boring, but then it got good. So yeah, that was exciting. I think that's probably, apart from work, that's
pretty much that's it. I've just asked you that question because mine has a little blank bullet point here where I've not done anything apparently. So yeah, okay.
It's in one of them weeks, isn't it?
One of them weeks. I suppose, like I said, we're off on holiday soon, so you sort of wind down doing things, don't you?
Can't afford to do anything else.
Exactly. Yeah, spend too much money on everything else. So yeah, a good segue into that. Just as a reminder, we are off. For 3 weeks, I think it was, after the release of this one.
We did say the date, didn't we?
Yeah.
Let me have a look what date it was. We'll be back in August.
August, yeah.
The 3rd.
3rd, yeah. So we'll be back on the... after this episode, we'll be back on the 3rd of August. So yeah, just having a bit of a break. But yeah, just a reminder to everybody if you didn't listen to last week, but you never know. Some people... that's a good question, actually. I wonder if people... pick and choose episodes if they go, I don't really like this episode of Ghosts, so I'm going to skip this one. Do they then go, I'll listen next week because I like that one or something like that? Be interested to know if people did listen that way. But if they miss this one, they'd never get the question. So yeah. So we got to hope they're like the Christmas specials. So. I guess no feedback because
we've got feedback on the episode.
Oh, we do, yeah.
And
okay.
I don't know what was going on last week, but I missed some feedback, and I can only deeply apologise.
Yeah.
I'm going to blame YouTube on they're the reason for all the issues.
I mean, to be fair.
So Marianne sent us some feedback. This was so not last week's episode, the episode before. And she said, seriously, you two have never watched I Love Lucy, the Lucille Bell Desi Arnaz TV show, nor do you know Egypt is in Africa? I mean, my geography is not great, and I just like clarification. But yeah, never watched I Love Lucy. Didn't get the reference at all.
I wonder if... I don't know if it was a thing in the UK, to be honest. Like, probably was, but it was quite old, and they don't... Like, it's never on the TV. Like,
I've never even heard of it.
Do you know they replay old TV shows sometimes here? They never replay that, so yeah. It must not be a big thing here.
In the UK.
Yeah.
Marianne also said, I enjoyed this Kitty-heavy episode, and I like how the other ghost tried to protect Kitty from the truth of her tragic life. Sorry about the cat. Kitty, maybe she thinks I'm Kitty. Yeah. Kitty comes to terms with the reality of her evil sister, and I love that we get to see details of Kitty's actual life. The church groups renting Button House would be fascinating to the ghosts. Can you imagine Robin doing a Zumba class?
I don't even know what Zumba is. I know it's some kind of exercise, but I don't know. Intense.
I think it's fast.
Okay.
Mike making his voodoo smoothie so he can see the ghosts. I think if I were Mike, I'd be trying to do that too. It's got to be annoying to live with someone who can see ghosts and you cannot. Yeah, that would be really annoying. I like episodes that tell us more about the ghost characters as they lived. I'd give it an 8.25.
Fair enough.
And then we've got Another piece of feedback, and I don't know if I read this one out, so I'm going to read it again.
Yeah.
Just to be sure.
If we did read it out, then...
then getting it again. So Chantal from Canada said the affair... So this is like quite before.
Mm-hmm.
The affair between Fanny and Humphrey's body had me laughing so hard, especially the part when Humphrey's head reacts to the funny feelings he's been getting repeatedly. I think that this is where we first realised in the series that the ghosts can actually have physical, intimate relationships with each other, which is bizarre enough concept in itself, not to mention this particular relationship between Fanny and a headless body. The writing in this series always amazes me. Who thinks up these scenarios? And P.S. Luke, your French wine comment of peanut de gringo made me laugh out loud.
I'm trying to think if there's other ones as well, because that's not the only one.
Merlot.
Merlot, yeah, I just called it Merlot. I did one the other day, wasn't it? Didn't I? What was it? It was it an Irish name? Was it?
Oh, you said. You said Nema,
yeah,
and it was Neve.
Yeah.
I was like,
I mean, that's how it's spelled.
I know.
Yeah.
There's like another Irish name that's like it said Aoife, but it's spelled like Aiofe.
Aoife, I know. It literally, it all comes down to if you've heard it before you read it. Because Aoife, I know, because there used to be a journalist called Aoife, and so I'd heard the name. So as soon as I saw it spelt, I was like, okay, that's how you spell Aoife. But if I'd read it first, I'd been like Iofi, something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out what. So for this episode, we've got some. I'm just looking. So yeah, because I've got all the feedback on my phone, I'm just like figuring out what could be used for later and what can be used for now. Well, if we stick with Marianne had some feedback from episode 19, which was the last episode.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
20. So Marianne said, how am I going to survive July without my Luke and Tash fix? Listen back. Listen back to all the other episodes.
Do wonders for our download.
We'll be back. To have no fear. And yeah, when BBC Ghosts is wrapped up, please continue with our US Ghost episode. So we'll have to have a think because it's a big commitment for all the episodes.
I think we picked this series of Ghosts because we thought, it's not too long, but even this is like there's a lot of episodes, a lot more than you think.
Yeah. And it's a commitment to do something weekly as well.
Yeah.
Because obviously we don't bulk record; we record every week. So with on top of like normal jobs too, it is a commitment, but one that we're like enjoying. So it's.
I think if you put it into hours wise, I think an hour episode probably takes us about, I'd say, at least 4 hours output to make an hour episode, including the hour of recording.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway. So I think I'm going to save that bit of Marianne's feedback and we'll come back to it like when we do the overall feedback. So Caroline said, Whose Line Is It Anyway was originally a British show which successfully transferred to the US.
I thought it was British, but then I've only ever seen
she said
American
it
episodes.
Became more popular than it was here. Regarding Julian's underpants, I think that in the fiction he doesn't have anything on. When he bends over by Mike's bed in Bump in the Night, the other ghosts wince and turn away, implying that they got an eyeful. However, in actual fact, not surprisingly, Simon Farnaby is wearing underpants. I should hope so. They are briefly on show in season 1, episode 2, where he and the captain are discovering the TV whilst trying to haunt the Coopers. I love the scene between Mike and Julian. Up to this point, we've mainly seen the mischievous and selfish side to Julian, and here he is helping Mike for no personal benefit. It's also a rare chance for Mike to interact with at least one of the ghosts in a positive way. The scene with the captain and Kitty is also lovely to see. The improv meal at the end is another great moment of togetherness. And then Caroline's put her series 3 review, so I'm going to save that and We'll come back to that right at the end.
Okay, cool.
And then... and then Nick said, I think in the episode with the burglars in season 2, Julian bends over and the expression of Pat and the captain suggests that he certainly wasn't wearing any underpants. And I think we're meant to believe he died of a heart attack whilst in the middle of the act with his secretary. They just do a good job of hiding it on camera. I think this episode was one of the better ones of series 3, but I think it's the weakest series overall. I think that's because I don't like the Lucy and her whole storyline. And then Nick also said, I loved your segment about the Tower of London. It's one of my favourite places to visit in London. There's so much history there and you can really feel it when you're walking around, if those walls could talk.
Do you know what? It's funny, the amount of times we've been to London and I've been past it so many times. I've never been in. Like, literally, I walked around because we were going somewhere in central London. We literally walked around the grounds of the Tower of London to get there because it was a quicker path. But it's like, I've just never been in. I don't know if you have to pay or anything to go in there. Probably in the UK, but not sure. But yeah, it's a cool place. So.
Yeah, definitely. So just finally going back to something else Marianne said. Said I wanted to make sure you guys got a heads up about Spirited, that other TV show that we had a look at.
Yeah,
it had a similar vibes to Ghosts, didn't it?
It does look very similar, and also famously has Super Hands from Peep Show as the ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything with him? It's Australian.
Yeah, he said it's Australian. But yeah, we might check that one out. I thought I'd mention it as well, just in case anyone else wants to have a look into it as well. So. Should we get on with the episode?
So apologies, we've just noticed that the microphone was not switched on properly. Well, I won't get technical, but it wasn't set up properly. So that's fixed now, so hopefully this sounds normal. But anyway, this week we are looking at episode 7 of series 3, which is the Christmas special for 2021, entitled He Came. It was directed by Nick Collette, written by Martha Howard Douglas and Lawrence Rickard, and the original air date was the 23rd of December 2021, so not getting the actual Christmas Day slot that it does later on.
Maybe Christmas just fell on like a different day or something.
Maybe. I wonder if it was more just something to do with it not being as popular as it eventually became, but I don't know.
Yeah, possibly.
Although this is the middle point, surely.
Well, yeah.
Be a peak or
yeah.
I don't know.
I've got a thing to say before we even get going.
Okay.
So the title, He Came,
yeah.
and obviously it's a Christmas episode.
Yeah.
He Came. We're going to assume it's about Santa, Father Christmas, whatever you want to call it. So, Christmas morning, when I come down the stairs, I don't look at the presents under the tree and go, he came. I go, he's been.
Yeah.
So what is that? Am I different? Like, what do people normally say? Is that what they're trying to get at? So what would you say if you walked down the stairs? Would you go, he came? Or would you go, he's been? Because I would definitely say he's been. Or because I'd be like, Mum, has he been?
Yeah,
She'd be like,
so.
I actually think he's been. I'd be like, oh my God, he's been.
I'm trying to think of what I said as a kid. To be honest, I can't remember.
I don't. As a kid.
Well, yeah. I'm just I genuinely can't remember what I would have said or what. Yeah, maybe it would have been he's been, but anyway.
Putting too much thought into the title before we even get going, but yeah.
Anyway, we start at Button House. We see Pat and Captain. I just put Captain now, because the Captain just adds too many words to the notes. They're instructing Alison on how to put up the decorations best. They mention they don't want it at head height, which Humphrey says is a bit offensive.
Yeah.
As they're doing this, though, Alison accidentally claw hammers a painting of Fanny
straight down the face.
Yeah, straight across the nose, basically, isn't it? And this obviously sets alarm bells off for these three because they know how particular Fanny is about these kind of things, so they think she's going to go absolutely ballistic. In the main hall room, we see Kitty dancing with a Santa toy. Mike obviously can't see Kitty, but just sees the Santa toy dancing. This is what's all this about. And Alison sort of explains via a little flashback that Kitty essentially begged for her to get this.
Please, 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 please. I can't
summed up, yeah. And as this is happening, Kitty then spots a man outside who's walking past, who looks like he's wearing
Because he's wearing red.
Yeah, he's wearing red, has a hat on and a white beard. So obviously Kitty at this point believes, it's Santa. It's him. And then we get into the intro.
They call Santa, I say Santa, but they call him Father Christmas. I guess he could be known by either.
Yeah, I guess there's so many names for Santa, isn't there? Like, around the world, so... Yeah, I guess it's just one of them. We come back and the captain is telling Kitty about Santa, trying to basically tell her that it isn't... He goes to tell her it's not actually Santa because Santa's not real, is what he's trying to say, but then realises who he's speaking to and sees potential problems if he is completely honest with Kitty. So chickens out a little bit.
But obviously we know Santa is real.
Yes. For anyone listening. if the real Santa is listening.
You don't want to upset him because if you stop believing, he won't come.
Well...
I learnt the hard way.
That sounds like a troubling story that you've got. He starts giving her the old, it was just one of his elves spiel, which, I gotta be honest, I agree with Kitty here. If you're gonna come up with some story about, that's not the real Santa, it's actually one of Santa's helpers, it's like, don't give me this crap. Is it Santa or is there no Santa? Which one are we talking here? You know what I mean? As Kitty herself says, I think your imagination's running away with yourself there. Alison decides that she's going she is painting over the damage on the picture. And Thomas says, lucky Fanny to be touched up by such a hand. To which Alison cracks a smile.
She says, I'll do you next.
Yes, yeah. Which Thomas takes as gospel as, she's going to paint me a portrait. And he's overjoyed at this, which Alison realised she's made a bit of a rod for him back with this one. Pat goes on to mention, while Alison's there, that Mike's family's not coming this Christmas, so it's just going to be them. And Pat suggests that they can join in with their annual Christmas quiz, and suggests it's just easy questions like, what's the captain's name? To which Alison freezes, doesn't know what it is, and as Pat is about to tell her and everybody who's probably been begging for this answer, he's interrupted by Fanny, who sees this the painting and is upset. It doesn't really go into it. She does a typical Fanny sort of expression, but not as upset as you'd expect her to be. To do this, but Mike then sees the tent on the grounds. That I don't know if I'm assuming Kitty saw the same person from earlier.
Yeah. I think it's implied.
Yeah. You don't actually see them up close, but you see just a reflection. But yeah, Mike sees a tent outside, so goes over to speak to them. But a dog comes out the tent, to which he just shouts "dog" and runs away.
I would shout dog, but have a very different reaction.
Well,
be like, dog!
Some people are scared of dogs.
That's true.
And also, random dogs, sometimes you have to just go, is it going to bite me? You never know.
It'd be worth it.
So he does the brave thing and goes to get Alison to sort the situation. And he also makes a comment. He said, do we just knock? And then he says, how do we knock a tent? Which is a good question, really. I'm trying to think of what I did if I need to get anybody's attention. I only ever camped with like friends, so you'd just bang on their tent, to be honest.
Or shout them.
Yeah. which would be annoying if it was a random person, but if it's your friend, you're just like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Mike sort of goes on to say that he's trespassing on their land, to which Nick, who we find out is his name, he thinks it's just a field. Alison feels a bit of pity on him because he's clearly homeless. I don't know. I was told the other day that that's
I
not
was quite an assumption.
Yeah.
Like that he was homeless. I don't know, because I kind of forgot this episode as it started. I couldn't remember what happened. And I couldn't remember whether he was homeless or not. And I thought it was quite a jump, really, that you just assume that someone in a tent is homeless. Like, they could have just been camping.
Could be, yeah. I don't
Obviously, he is homeless, so it's fine, but yeah. So.
Is that the correct... I'm sure I heard the other day that homeless is an offensive term now. I'm not sure if it is or not. Don't know. We've got to get out the guidebook. But she says that... he can stay the night, so she sort of doesn't want to be, as Mike calls him later, a bit of a Michael Caine about it. And he says that his name's Nicholas, which delights Kitty. And then we see Robin and Mary talking in the background, and they realise that when Alison's been saying that not Alison, but Mike's been saying that they're trespassers, that all of this land actually belongs to Robin. He was here first, so they're all trespassing on his land.
Squatters' rights.
Yeah, exactly. So he concludes that Alison and Mike are trespassers.
Because he wasn't a squatter when it wasn't anyone's land,
No,
was he?
I guess at that point there's no concept of ownership. It's just I'm here and then I'm not here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So purer times probably. Back inside, Julian says they need to get rid of them, and the captain agrees. Pat goes on to say that he had one back in his day, and he says there was chalky dog poos everywhere. Don't see chalky dog poos anymore, do you?
No, people pick up after their dogs these days.
Apparently it's a diet as well, isn't it? Like, apparently dog food's different these days. So yeah, not as chalky. I don't know if that's a myth or anything.
Come to us for the greatest
what
topics.
a conspiracy that would be to get sucked into. Do you know what I mean? Like wires and that. Anyway,
just move on.
But as they're all sort of talking about this, Fanny speaks up, and they're all a bit surprised by what she says because, uncharacteristically, she tells them all they're being really judgmental, and she says that they have no idea what led him to be in this situation, which is
absolutely true.
It is very true, and also very not Fanny, like from what we know about her.
The Julian captain, I put a right Tories.
Yeah. And then we get a flashback, and we see a young Fanny.
She looks really different.
Really different.
Considering, like, obviously we know it's the same person.
Yeah.
But it really highlights how they make her up to look like this older woman.
Yeah. But yeah, we see a young Fanny with her mother, played by Jennifer Saunders.
I thought it was Jennifer Saunders. Is this Jennifer Saunders?
It was Jennifer Saunders.
But yeah, I thought it was, but I wasn't 100% sure.
Always like to see Jennifer Saunders or any of that kind of crew who used to do all the...
Yeah, they're kind of like classic British, I want to say comedy. Isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's good to see her in this. Quite an understated role in this as well, to be honest. Not like a big role.
It's one of them though where I think sometimes if an actor, say, I'm not saying this is the case at all, but if Jennifer Saunders was a fan of Ghosts, I guess you don't mind having a small role if you're going to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So it's
and also it doesn't tie you up. You know what I mean? Like I mean, very different things, but like one of the reasons why all the actors from the Marvel films now aren't doing it anymore because they were like, I'm sick of doing these goddamn films.
You get typecast.
Yeah, you get like tied down and you want to do other stuff. So anyway, a little role like this is fine. What?
I don't know why I laughed. I just went.
I thought I'd said something offensive. I suppose. I guess there's no small roles. That's what they say. Yeah. So yeah, they're sat around sewing or doing some, I don't know, embroidery. And she's never actually named. It's just Fanny's mom, I think, is trying to get her to talk, or he's trying to talk to her about a friend's daughter's marriage, and he's trying to bring it up as like, oh, you know, you should probably get married. Gossiping, yeah. And Fanny, or as we find out, her full name, Stephanie, which I never even,
I guess we kind of figured that, maybe.
Yeah, is that the short for...
Stephanie.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'd never even thought of it, I guess.
No, I guess I never really thought about it. I wasn't shocked.
Yeah.
Or do we hear it before? I don't know.
I don't think we have before this point. But yeah, she brings up that, or Fanny brings up that the reason why all they've got to talk about that family is the daughters getting married is because none of them have ever been educated. They've just got married, basically. That was all their lot in life. And her mom says quite a of the time thing. She says, "Oh well, we've got the men to do that, so it's fine. We don't need to worry about it." At this point, the butler arrives and informs them that I can't remember the guy's name, but it's like something and Sons is at the door. To which she gets excited, but we find out that these are bailiffs, so hinting at some financial issues for them. Back in the present, Mike and Alison watch the tent from what we find out is Robin's room, which is a bit of a state. Alison is confused as to why it's in this state, and then we realise it's Robin's room, and she says, makes sense. Alison says, you know, it's fine. He's only going to be there a few days, and they can enjoy their Christmas. And she goes through a list of Christmas comforts, all these different things they're looking forward to, and then hard cut as she's mid-sentence to 2 weeks later, and the tent is still there. And Mike sees something and says, oh, that's it, I've had enough. Goes down and he finds, well, what are the beginnings of chalky dog poos on the drive. Mike sees this and confronts Nicholas, who Nicholas says is a bit presumptuous that he's just guessed that it's his just because he's got a dog. He says, what about his other neighbours? Have they got dogs? To which he says, yeah, he's got loads, but that's not the point. And he says that he always bags it and bins it. You know, he's tidy, cleans up after himself. But it's at this point where his dog gets away from him and he starts calling him by his name, Rudy. To which Kitty overhears, and again she's delighted because it's obviously Rudolph. We also see that she's reading a romantic Christmas novel called All I Want for Christmas is Hugh.
Yeah, the right mucky thing.
Good pun. I quite like that as a pun. We see Alison painting Thomas now, who has chosen quite an awkward pose to sort of model. To which he keeps saying, "Oh, do you want to take a break?"
Yeah.
You know? Pat arrives and he asks, as we find out, he's doing some revision for the quiz. He asks, "What is Robin's favourite Beatle?" We sort of think Paul, Ringo, George, John. No. Stag, Dung. So actual Beatles. Robin then arrives, and he's sort of been doing some talking to Mary, and he's bringing up this land situation again.
Mrs. Cooper, I've been talk at my lawyer about how long house been on my land, and she tell me I's got rights.
He's got rights, Alison.
Me cut to chest. We do munch the numbers, and by my calculators, you owe me back rent of...
Yeah, it's quadrillion pounds and 5 shillings.
Well, you've just made that number up and you can't spend money, so...
Right, well, we'll get back to you then.
Yeah.
Robin and Mary leave, and Thomas manages to sneak a peek at his painting and just looks on in horror, but we don't actually see what it is at this point. Mike says that he's going to call the council about this guy. He's had enough.
I'm sure... Oh, no, he doesn't. Never mind. Sorry, continue.
Mike says he's going to call the council. The captain agrees, and Julian cheers in that kind of like parliamentary sort of way. And I put down here, you can probably tell if you're doing something immoral if Julian agrees.
Yeah.
I think that should be a pause for thought. And as he then goes on to explain about how a public footpath got in his way, so he got that changed and built a swimming pool there. Again, showing his selfish side. And Alison says that, it's Christmas. You don't want to be doing this on Christmas. And yeah, Mike says at this point, he says, he doesn't want to feel like, this is what's the guy, Michael Caine. And
she says, you do know there is a non-puppet version of the story. And
Yeah.
he says, yeah, but it's not as good.
I mean, absolute truth bomb.
I agree completely.
Muppet Christmas Carol is the definitive version, and I will not physically fight, but
Even
I'll
though
fight.
the 80s version was filmed in my hometown, so
It was, but no Kermit.
I'm not interested unless there's a little frog in a jacket.
And skating on ice.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
That is good, isn't it?
let's not review Muppet Christmas Carol.
That's what we're doing next.
It's July for one.
I don't mind. I think there's always a time.
For Christmas. Yeah. That sounds like a song from that, actually. We then go back to Thomas's painting, and my God, the eyes alone are something else. It's just...
I mean, it's not terrible.
No,
I could have done worse.
It could have been worse. It's kind of like... So let's admit it, I paint little models, and when you do the eyes on those, because they're so small, everybody does them, and they always look like they're looking in different directions. So it kind of looked like that, like a child who's just painted their first like little figure, and it's just gone wrong. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Let's be frank. I love this bit as well, though. The slow, like it keeps cutting back to Thomas and then to the picture, and it just keeps zooming in on the face. And Pat sort of sees it and sort of says it's not great, and explains that he's going to have to lie to Alison. Sometimes you get gifts that you don't want. He says Carol once got him Nuki Brown when in reality he drinks Whatleys.
I don't know what that was.
So I know what Nuki Brown is.
Oh, Newcastle Brown Ale.
Newcastle Brown Ale, yeah. Whatneys I'd never heard of, but I googled it. It was discontinued in the 60s.
Oh, really?
So yeah. So they don't make that on. Well, I don't know. I couldn't find anything about it past then. So, anyway, but he advises him he's going to have to lie, and then he says that he can't lie. It's not in his nature. So he says he's going to have to consult the best liar of the group. Immediately cuts to Julian playing chess. Alison, sort of again trying to be neighbourly, I guess. Makes a hot meal for Nick outside, which turns to be Mike's cottage pie, which he's not happy about. She suggests maybe he could move in with them at one point, and Mike says no way, it's going to be a security risk. Robin and Mary again come to talk to Alison, suggesting that okay, maybe they were hasty before, but they've got a new plan. Only the downstairs touches the land. So you can have the upstairs, they'll have the downstairs. To which Alison says it won't work because how are they meant to get upstairs without it?
She kind of doesn't seem bothered by their requests at all, does she?
What are they going to do?
What are they going to do?
Ultimately. I did like as well in this bit, we see Alison sort of listening to them and reacting to them, but we don't actually see them at the very beginning. And it's, so it's just her going, which, again, I do like it when you don't see the ghost sometimes. Obviously, it's mad to say about the programme Ghosts.
No, I get that, because it's interesting to see, like, how she reacts to the ghosts and what
other
living people would see.
Exactly,
which is her just being a bit weird.
Yeah. So, she goes out and gives this shepherd's pie. Cottage pie, sorry. Yeah.
It's a big difference. Like.
What is the difference between cottage and shepherd's pie?
Cottage pie is beef mince and shepherd's pie is lamb mince.
That is true, yeah. Makes sense, I suppose, yeah.
Sorry, but if it's about food, I like it to be correct.
He seems thankful for this, But then as she's walking away, she sees him scraping the meal into the dog bowl. And this is where she has sort of had enough. She goes back angry with Mike and the ghosts in tow, ready to confront him.
Okay, look, calm. Alison, calm. Yeah?
Enjoy the meal?
Oh, yes.
I was talking to the dog.
Oh, right, yeah. Look, truth be told, I'm just not really a fan of that kind of thing. I mean, I appreciate
Beggars
the
can't be
gesture.
choosers.
I
Who do you think you are? You're a liar.
I had my fill of that kind of stuff when I was in the forces.
Salt of the earth. Pride of the nation. We owe him our thanks, actually.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I assumed you'd eat everything.
Happens all the time. I lost my house, not my taste buds.
I love the captain's change of heart immediately in this. As soon as he hears that he's ex-forces. Doesn't say what forces, though.
No, not until later on.
Yeah. But yeah.
Salt of the earth.
Salt of the earth. Back inside, we see Julian giving Thomas a masterclass in lying. Or as he calls it, truth avoidance.
That's such a, it's just classic.
It's the same thing, but just spelled a few different words. Yeah. I like this because this is, if you ever, I mean, I don't know what it's like in the US or any other countries, but in the UK, watch any politician talking, they do all of the same tricks. And it's unbelievably frustrating because nothing ever gets answered, which is why, whenever people, say, I've watched the debates and stuff like that, I just think they're largely pointless because they just never answer anything. There's a good video, actually, this is off topic, but there's a good video from a comedian called Jay Foreman who explains, why they do this, explains why it's frustrating, but explains why they have to, because they'll just end up losing their job, basically. But anyway, Julian gives him this sort of explanation on what to do. I did like when he's sort of explaining about how you just ask, if they ask you a question you don't like, you just rephrase it back to them as a question, and they both go, ooh. Thomas gives it a try, but he just can't get past the eyes and the chin. He just breaks. So yeah, he's not getting on well. Nick goes on to, I've just started calling him Nick at this point. He goes on to explain about his story, essentially, how he used to be in the forces. He left and became a chef. And Mike's really impressed with his cooking, which he's given him a small demo of. And then Alison asks how he became homeless. Well, she doesn't actually say homeless. She doesn't want to say the word because it's, it's not even that. I think people are what's the word? Embarrassed to ask, you know what I mean? But I think everybody's guilty of this because, how many times do you see somebody who's homeless, in town or something like that, and you make some, not even bad assumptions, but you just make assumptions on that person. You have no idea how they go. Yeah. That's the one thing that I really liked about this stories that kind of makes you go, and especially with the Fanny stuff later on, that you really don't know how people have ended up in their situations without talking to them. So it's but people still do it. I'll be guilty as anyone to make judgment calls and stuff. So
it's hard.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
But he sort of he says, he says one of the things he learnt in the army, he says, when things go south, you rarely see them coming.
He said what?
Not in the army. Not in the army. In the forces. Yes. Yeah.
Don't make assumptions.
Yes. And then we, as he's sort of saying this, we see a flashback again to Fanny's family, and they're sort of it's Fanny's mom again, basically wrestling with a bailiff who's trying to take a mirror from their house. And this is where her dad arrives and explains that their family business is in a bit of debt, and he's been he claims he's got some investments to sort of dig them out of it, which turn out to just be gambling, which is never a good idea. And he says, as he's going through all this, he says, "Oh, the numbers just don't add up." To which Fanny has gone through the books in the background, and she says that they do add up perfectly, and she just looks completely angry. And again, it's sort of highlighting this point that she has the knowledge and the brains to do this, but she's been completely looked over just because she's a woman.
And she knows it as well.
Yeah. Back in the present and back inside, Mike and Alison are talking about Nick. They say he's really nice. They say he's wise. I like how Mike is. He says that they need to get some of those Haribo beans. And it's haricot, is it? Or something haricot beans.
Oh,
I think it was haricot, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure it ends with a T.
Maybe it's haricot, but like the T's silent.
I think so, yeah.
That's a surprise for me, noting the haricot. Probably did say that if I said it. But as they're saying this, they see that outside there's another tent, and this is where they think, oh, he's taking it too far.
Brought
now.
other people.
Yeah, and like he's kind of swindled them. They argue about if they should report him, and as they're doing this, so Mike's already written up the report, I suppose, online. Julian jumps in and presses send.
We don't actually see him though.
No.
He's like completely. How does Alison not notice?
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe he did, but we only see it from that perspective later on.
But then, how does Alison not see him?
I don't know. Yeah, let's not question it too much. He does vehemently deny it, and he said that he says that he would never stoop so low on Christmas of all the time. And as he walks out of the room, we find out this is a demo of lying to Thomas. As he sort of
it's a C fibbing is easy.
Yeah. They're lying in bed later, justifying it, saying, he's had his chance. He should have left weeks ago. They were forced to do it, and they sort of try to come to terms with that. But as we see the next morning, neither of them have slept. And then neither of them are happy about what's happened. So they do have a conscience. Robin and Mary then arrive, again with a new updated deal for Alison. And they say that basically, why don't they have the house, and Alison and Mike can go and live on one of the fields nearby, to which Alison at this point says, yep, that's fine. I'll do that. She goes downstairs and basically shows them all of the work that's required to keep the house ticking over. So stuff to stop the walls falling down, stuff to keep the electric on, stuff to make sure the TV still works, which they all enjoy. Mm-hmm. And they start to think again, maybe this deal isn't too great either. With this, Nick knocks on the door and sort of apologises, says he might have seen a tent. It was just a friend who came over quite last minute. He explains how he's gone now. He would have told them, but he was late. And he's sort of explaining now how he's looking to leave soon. He's not staying here for too long. But as he's explaining this, the police arrive in the background. Mike goes to talk to the police, but Nick spots them and guesses what's up, basically, at this point. Alison stumbles over her words, trying to sort of defend herself, to say, I don't know if she's trying to lie or just trying to justify it, but either way, she doesn't get a sentence out, and Nick kind of just leaves a bit dejected. And at this point, Nick actually does leave. His tent's gone the next day, and Alison and Mike feel really bad. Kitty's not worried because she thinks, oh, he's just gone to get presents, that's all it is. Makes sense. Sorry, Shelley's punching me. But yeah, it's at this point Mike goes and sees the rubbish bin, and true to his word, Nick has bagged all of his poos, as there's loads of dog poo bags in there. So just a good guy, and they both feel bad at this point. And we see another flashback at this point. We see Fanny's mom basically going begging to her sister.
Her sister, yeah.
But sister is kind of moot on this. Again, the man does all the talking. So again, trying to highlight this sort of imbalance. But he says that it wouldn't be a good idea for them to borrow the money, not for his reputation, but for theirs, because it'll make their family look desperate.
It's kind of like the man. I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but the man made the mess. But Fanny's mum is the one who's trying to sort it out.
Yeah.
And eventually Fanny is the one who has to sort it out in
basically,
the end.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, her sister's husband says that there is a potential. He says that there is a certain family, the Button family, who are looking for a wife for their wayward son, they describe him as. So it sounds like he's always been a bit of a wrong-un.
I don't think he's a wrong-un, is he, really? I mean, he does kill Fanny, so maybe in that sense.
No, yeah, it's not that he's... Sorry, I thought he was, like, doing something else, to be honest. He's definitely not a wrong-un. Now I've remembered why. Yeah.
I knew
I'll rephrase that. I thought he'd done something else, and that's why he killed her. But yeah, I remembered the story now. I'd like
it was a Moroccan tea party.
Yeah, I'd like to retract my statement. Anyway, so yeah, they. So this is sort of hinting what eventually happens to Fanny later down the line. We see Alison and Mike go looking for Nick, and he goes to they go to a hostel, ask around for him, and he sort of says that he does come in here, but he's not seen him in a while. And they say, "Oh, can you give him this note that they've written?" And it's just as they're about to leave, they mention that their ovens just stopped working. And he says they don't know of a spare oven, do they? Because otherwise it's Christmas is cancelled for those people at the hostel. So, realising that they've already made one bad move, they decide to help out a bit. So we see then Alison cooking as lots of people arrive the next day. Obviously, these people from the hostel. We also see Pat at this point arrive asking, I think it said something like question 200 or something like that at this point. And he asks what Pat's favourite sauce is, which we find out it's gravy.
It's gravy.
I didn't know gravy was a sauce. I mean, obviously it is, but I never consider it as a sauce.
What did you think of it as?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously...
Gravy's gravy, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
That's the thing. I just see it as gravy. I've never once gone to gravy sauce, you know what I mean? It makes sense that it is a sauce, but...
What makes gravy gravy?
The bisto.
The bisto.
I don't know.
The granules.
Yeah, I'm not sure, actually, yeah.
What makes a gravy rather than another kind of liquid?
I got to be honest, I only know how to make gravy with bisto and, like, granules.
That's disgusting.
So... I can't tell you what goes into it. I'm assuming flour.
Am I going to have to come back as a ghost to show you how to make gravy when the time comes?
From scratch? Who's got time for that?
People that want to make nice dinner.
Yeah, anyway. I probably have made it, like, at some point, but yeah. But probably in food tech ages ago. Anyway. So yeah.
Episode 21, how to make gravy.
So gravy's a sauce anyway. That's the final point. And at this point we see Nick arrive in the kitchen, and he actually got their letter. And he says, I've read your letter. People can be so quick to judge. And he says that he actually thought that Mike and Alison were rich. He says, but this place is a shh, and then he's sort of told to stop speaking, so fill in the blanks there. But Nick can see that they're struggling with this gravy, so he offers to help out. Captain, again, is happy and says, he's just a typical army man, just willing to get stuck in and help out. And then Nick says, I always had to do this when I was in the Navy. To which the captain immediately switches, and he's not too happy now that he's a Navyman.
I wonder why. I don't know.
There's
why.
always been, like, I've been watching like Band of Brothers and what's the other one? Pacific recently, and just the Army, the Air Force, and the Marine and the Navy, they all I was just forgetting what it was then. They all have like a beef with so they just have. I don't think it's like they hate each other.
No,
it's just like it's kind of like
banter.
Yeah, it's kind of like football teams, I suppose. I imagine. I don't know. If you are ex-military, let us know your opinions on other branches of the military. It'd be interesting. At this point, Kitty sees that Nick is there in the kitchen helping, so it's obvious at this point that Santa's here to save the day. Mike arrives and he's in a Santa outfit as he's been sort of coerced into doing this to give out presents to everybody who's come from the hostel. And he says that he doesn't really want to wear it, he's an adult. And Nick says, well, what size are you? And we then cut to Kitty inside in the main room, explaining to Julian about that Nick is actually Santa. Julian is trying to explain, there's no such thing as Santa. But as this is all happening, Nick enters dressed as Santa. And I think Julian, it's quite good, this is because he's been saying this entire episode how about lying and stuff like that, and we've obviously seen it as malicious.
In a bad way.
Yeah. Whereas in this time, he's gone, the lie is worth it at this point because it means Kitty's happy, so we see him sort of tell a good lie, I suppose, for once. I can't remember the quote.
Kitty says, "See, he came," and Julian says, "He always does. Merry Christmas."
Yeah, so we get a nice, happy sort of snippet, I suppose, there.
Yeah.
Back in the kitchen, we see them trying to divide up the Yorkies between.
Absolutely not enough Yorkshire puddings, in my opinion.
How many did they say? 1.5 each, isn't it?
Not enough.
Well, 1.6 something, I think.
Not enough.
Which is
Yorkshires are the best bit after roast potatoes.
Everything's the best bit, couldn't you? But yeah, as they're trying to work out how many it goes into, Fanny knows the numbers straight away, just demonstrating her maths ability, basically, at this point. We get another flashback, and we see a mom fussing over Fanny, trying to sort of make sure her clothes are all perfect and everything. And Fanny suggests that maybe instead of being forced into this marriage, she could use her mind and her ambitions to help. But again, it's already been decided that
this is happening.
Yeah, so we kind of see George arrive. It's just a silhouette of him at this point.
Yeah, we don't actually see him.
Yeah. Do we ever see George? I don't think we do. Apart from
we see
his
a painting
of him. Yeah, that's all, I think. Back in the present, we see presents. As they're all giving out the presents to everyone. Only one of the ghosts gets a present at this point. Yeah. Well, Thomas does later, but Humphrey gets I don't even know what these are called.
I thought it was called a kaleidoscope.
See, are they glasses?
I thought you could get both, but I could be wrong.
So the kaleidoscope's the one where you just turn it and there's different colours, isn't it?
I had loads of
Whereas
those.
This is it's like a slideshow, isn't it? Where it's got different pictures as you click the frame. Well, I don't know what it's called.
Click the frame?
Well, he doesn't, and he keeps saying, "Click it."
Oh
yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a good, slightly good gift, I guess.
Yeah.
We see Nick is asleep now, dressed as Santa. Mike is fussing the dog, Rudy, and Robin and Mary finally come to Alison to give her a final sort of offer, and they decide it's probably best if they gift the house to them as it is Christmas on sort of a long-term loan basis. Robin does say that Christmas is a bit ridiculous again. He's still holding that sort of thought. And Alison kind of says, so you're giving something I already own to me. I can't remember the full quote, but basically that I already own this and you're giving it back to me. And she just relents and just says, yeah, that's fine, shake on it. And they do shake on it and both have a terrible time of it. Fanny sees her painting that Alison has sort of repaired, and Alison apologises, says that she should have got a professional in to fix it. And I think the quote that Fanny says here is really poignant, like more poignant than you'd expect for an episode of Ghosts. She says that, it doesn't matter underneath it all, it's still the same girl. Or it's still the same girl underneath, I think is the exact quote, which I think is just... it's quite a feminist message, I think, to take from that no matter what happens, you're still you underneath everything that's happened to you. Which I think, is just really a really good message. We see at this point Thomas agonises about trying to lie to Alison, but decides to just come clean. Says he respects her too much. He says that he absolutely hates it, and he doesn't want to lie to her. And which she says, well, I wish you'd told me that before I'd done the finishing touches. And then as she reveals it, we see that the finishing touches actually make it a pretty good picture at this point. Thomas says that he loves it, but Alison now doesn't believe him at all. Thinks he's just trying to blow smoke up her, basically. And she decides to just put it in the cellar, which... pleases the plague ghosts who
we've not seen them for ages. All series.
The last Christmas special.
That's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. I forgot they were there.
Do you know what?
I actually forgot they were there.
Towards the later few series, you do forget that they exist and they just pop up. Like, I think, obviously, when we get to it, the last episode, I'm pretty sure I'd forgotten the plague ghosts exist until they pop up in the shot that they're in. And then we see in the final scene of the episode, all the ghosts are gathered around, and Pat decides to start his Christmas quiz, revealing that one of the ghosts, or one of the people here, he doesn't actually say a ghost, he just says one of the people has a third nipple, and says, and where is it? And they're all started. I think it implies that it's the captain. Yeah. But we don't get any confirmation. But that's the end of the episode. So what do you think?
What do you think? I've really struggled with this one because Christmas is my thing. Like, I absolutely love Christmas. I normally do enjoy Christmas episodes of things, and I find TV shows normally completely pull it out the bag at Christmas. But I wouldn't say I didn't enjoy the episode. I just definitely, if I compared, say, to the last Christmas special, definitely not as good. I enjoyed learning about Fanny's history and why she married George, and sort of learning a bit more about her. And I think it's got some interesting themes, like with Nick and how he comes to be in the living in the garden. But it just didn't... I don't know, it just didn't get me. Yeah. Like I would want a Christmas episode to do. Yeah. I don't think it was terrible, so I'd have given it an 8.
An 8, okay, strong.
It is, but that's purely because of it being Christmas.
I suppose you gave the last Christmas one a 10, didn't you? So it is a drop down, I suppose. Yeah.
So in comparison to like the other Christmas special, I'd give it an 8. Maybe that's even too generous. But yeah, I think it's got interesting themes. But yeah, it just didn't sort of capture me quite as I would want a Christmas episode to. It definitely makes you think. But yeah, it just didn't quite have that sort of, it was disappointing. Okay, but I still gave it an 8. Yeah. But I am still disappointed by it. Yeah. Still good.
It's good. It's good, not great, basically. Yeah.
We're kind of getting to the point now, though, I think, going into series 4, obviously you've not watched any yet, where there's just really good episodes.
Yeah, I remember a lot from series 4 and 5.
So it's kind of... I've given the Christmas episode in the last series a 10. So I'm just like keeping back, waiting for those 10s to come back because I know they will. So
well, there you go. Yeah. Similar thoughts, not as strong as last series' special, but it still has that like kind of Christmassy, heartwarming quality about it that Christmas specials always have, and especially Ghost Christmas specials. I didn't think there was as many jokes in this one, or not as much that made me laugh as well, which
definitely
brings us down. Yeah. But I did really like the Nicholas storyline, just because it shines a light on a fate that's like really easy for anyone to sort of fall into, and it sort of mirrors that "don't judge a book by its cover" theme that like Fanny's sort of story is showing as well, with her ambitions and what she wants to do but isn't able to, I guess. So yeah, I think it's a strong episode, but again, not as strong as last series special. And remember, last series I gave the Christmas special a 7.5, I think. I gave it a 7 this episode. But again, I still think a 7's a good score. It just wasn't my favourite episode, I suppose. IMDb, with 458 votes, gave it an 8, bang on. So
Same as me.
yeah, so
Interesting, 400 and odd votes. It's not many, is it?
do you know what? Like, I've noticed it keeps slowly going down. But to be honest, people don't tend to rate individual episodes much on IMDb. So but there's not really a good of the sort of ranking system. This is the best I've got is IMDb. So
No, that makes sense.
if anybody knows of a better one, let me know. But
I think someone else is going to have to collate this feedback because I keep missing stuff. I've missed one now.
Oh, right.
And it was on my phone. It was right there. So, what should have been at the beginning, I'm going to just get it out now,
that's fine.
Is Alison's feedback. So Alison said, regarding Julian's level of undress, I think everyone knew this apart from us.
Yeah.
There's a scene where he bends over in front of the others and they all recoil in horror, suggesting he's not wearing any undies. Makes sense when you think about it. Now, Alison raises a very, very good question. Why is Julian wearing shoes?
Now, I imagine he's the type of person that wouldn't stand barefoot somewhere. Obviously, he's going to take his trousers off if he's doing the act, as we're going to keep calling it from now on. But he's quite hoity-toity, and he's not. I'm not going to stand with bare feet on the floor while I'm doing it.
So he's standing up.
I assume so. Yeah. Wasn't it like in an office or something like that? Did he? Yeah. That's what I assume.
I think it's an interesting question.
Yeah.
And Alison also said that really enjoyed this episode. So that was last episode.
Yeah.
All the little moments. I love when Mary rescues Humphrey's head from Thomas and then she kicks him back to the house.
Yeah.
And the reveal when we find out Lucy's been caught out, and particularly the dinner scene at the end. Best line of the series, Robin, I am saucy. So I think that leads us into some of the feedback from sort of the whole series. So if I go back to some of the others, so Mary says about Series 3, Mary has some other feedback as well. Series 3 was overall excellent. The ghosts are firing on all cylinders, and Alison and Mike are quite comfortably, this is a big word, ensconed. It looks like scone, but it's not. How embarrassing.
Ensconced.
Ensconed. But I've got a degree. I've got a master's degree, you know. Like how, I do not know. The walk through the park was stellar. It's been brought. The walk through. Sorry, I'm losing my lines. The walk through the park was stellar. It's been brought up in the US Ghost series that walking in a big city is like the Thriller video, with ghosts everywhere. So I think that's referring to the last episode where Alison was walking with Lucy, and that ghost was
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, I guess I don't know anything about the US series, but if there's a bit where she goes to a city, yeah.
Alison only gets one lonely soldier and Lucy. No question where this is going. I love the whole storyline of Murder She Wroting the truth about Lucy. Begone, evil demon. The improv dining scene was lovely. Great episode. I give it a 9. So sorry, Mary's Anne's feedback was probably more to do with that episode, but yeah, that's great. And then Oh, it's just all over the shop. I'm just terrible at this. I'm so sorry. I've got no excuses. So some more feedback from series 3 from Marianne. Favourite character, how do you choose? While I love all the ghosts, I think I feel most fondness for the captain. From his camping inexpertise to his unending crisp throat clearing, he wins my imaginary medal for most beloved. Stuck on a desert island with just one of the ghosts, he'd be my pick. Favourite episode? The Woodworm Men. All our ghosts shine as we venture into the wilderness of the Button House grounds. Mike is so endearingly inept. Series 3 seems to have all the characters hitting on all cylinders. And other than the oddness of the Fanny having sex with Humphrey's headless body, the act, I should have said that, the plot twist I'm still trying to grasp. This is a great season. That said, I know things will continue to get better with season 4. It's always astounds me how few episodes you all have in your UK TV series. The US Ghosts have 15 to 20 episodes a season and the UK Ghosts has 6. And Mary said, I really enjoy your podcast. Wouldn't it be great if you could get one of the people who act in Ghosts to join in 1 week? Not surprisingly, I vote for Ben Wilbond.
I mean,
we can try.
We can try.
I feel that we might not.
It might just be a bit out of reach for us, but you never know. You never know.
We can give it a go. I don't know how we can contact them, but if anyone has any contacts, then let us know.
Don't harass them as well.
No. I'm sure people won't, but yeah, it's definitely something to consider. We can definitely reach out to them, but I just don't feel like they're going to want to do it.
Maybe not, no.
But yeah, it's
on the point of like the series like only having 6 episodes, it's just our format. I think especially BBC stuff tends to have 6 tends to be the standard. The amount of comedy shows in the UK that are like BBC like comedy shows that only have 6 episodes, it must just be how they commission TV series over here, because I imagine the budget is significantly smaller. It's only recently like Doctor Who, the new series of that had like a few. How many episodes did it have? I'm not sure exactly, but like that was partly funded by Disney. So you know what I mean? Like they could go a bit wild with the budget there. So I think joint productions are different, but when it's pure BBC, 6 episodes is all you get, and a special if you're lucky. So yeah, pretty standard.
Yeah, so I had some series feedback from Caroline. So series 3 review. Surprisingly, going through these episodes again with you, I find that for me, series 3 is probably weaker than series 2. That's not to say it was bad, and the first time through, I certainly didn't find my love for the show waning at all. But looking at the episodes from both series, I definitely find series 2 stronger. Part of my issue, I guess, is that I never really liked the Lucy story arc. Again, nothing wrong with it as such, but I felt the outcome was fairly obvious from the start, and I was more interested in the Ghost family than the Lucy arc. Episode order, worst to best, 7.
Okay.
So, I agree.
Yeah,
I do agree. I think I enjoyed that storyline from what it gave us, which was sort of hammering that point that the ghosts are now Alison's family.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have any of her own. I don't know if that needed reiterating, but I enjoyed it for that. But I don't know. I was going to say maybe that could have been done in 1 or 2 episodes rather than stretched out for the whole series. But even whilst the Lucy storyline was going on, there was still other things going on at the same time, and it wasn't every episode was about Lucy.
Yeah, definitely.
But I do totally agree. I just found it a bit and as I was coming back rewatching it, kind of the same as Caroline really, in that I kind of forgot a lot of the episodes. And got confused with some of them as well, which doesn't take a lot for me, as you can probably tell. But yeah, what did you think of the Lucy?
Kind of what people have said, really, with it, that I like that they attempted a series-long plot, because before this it was kind of just there was occasionally like something like the wedding where it was mentioned, but it wasn't really a story. It was just something that was happening around all the other stories.
Yeah.
Whereas this was like had its own series-long plot. The only trouble with that is the outcome was kind of predictable. Obviously, she wasn't going to stick around.
Yeah.
So
she would have had to be like literally a character all the way through to the end.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was obvious where it was heading. Not exactly how we'd get there, but like what the outcome would be. So it did feel a bit like, not like what's the point, because like it doesn't have to be anything. It's just a series long story, but it didn't serve anything. It didn't add to anything other than just basically cementing that the family, her family is the ghosts, which I suppose that's a good point. So I enjoyed the experiment of it, but in execution, I just think it didn't give me much, really, I suppose.
So I think that was sort of. I'm just checking we've not missed any feedback from anyone else. Put a bit of Spanish flea in here, I think. No, so I think we're good. I think I've covered everything. If I've missed anything, it's not intentional. It's just because I'm pretty poor at trying to pull things together. I'm actually very organised, just not with this.
It's not with this.
But yeah, so I guess to you, what do you think? So we asked people your favourite character in series 3, favourite episode or scene in the series 3 and why, and overall feedback on series 3. Marks out of 10 if you want, and why.
Apologies first, by the way, if my voice has suddenly changed. I had like some mad allergy attack all of a sudden halfway through the recording of this, so my nose is completely blocked. But anyway, I'll continue.
Okay.
We've not got much
What
left.
a trooper.
Yeah, well, thanks everybody. Favourite character in series 3, Humphrey. I think he's gone from a pretty one-note joke, you know what I mean, of, he can never see where his body is, you know what I mean, like that joke does get a bit tiring sometimes. They still manage to find ways to make it funny, but they've taken him from that to having arguably one of the most fleshed out backstories of all of the ghosts. Like, I know more about him than I do Robin at this point. And he's got such a tragic past as well. Like, his story is really heartbreaking. And it really...
He's a good guy, isn't
he?
he?
Yeah. And it really changes your opinion on him. And so much so that now I'm like, I think he's probably one of my favourite characters in what he does anyway. And it's just hard not to love his character. He's always there in some way, shape or form, even if it's not in a huge role. So I think in this series, I think he's definitely coming to his own. I don't think by the end of the series I'll be like, I still love Humphreys.
Yeah.
But I think in this series he's definitely took a shining light. Which leads into, sorry.
I thought we were...
Go on, John. John asked the question.
No, I thought we were going to take it in
Oh, yeah,
turns
no,
to
you go. No, you go, actually. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah.
So I couldn't pick a cat. I'm gonna have to cut this bit out.
No, I'm leaving it all.
What? I think I couldn't choose, but I've got two favourite characters for two different reasons. So first of all is Robin. So I think he's just really funny, and I sort of really enjoy watching him navigate the modern world, and the things that he says are they just really make me laugh sometimes.
I think a lot of the jokes come through Robin.
Yeah, definitely. Or at least he's part of all of the jokes. So I think he's my favourite character for that. But then also, and for a different reason, the captain. I think he is sort of... I think we're watching him mellow. Yeah. And I think the scenes that we had in the last episode with Kitty, or the episode before... No, it was the last episode. Yeah. With Kitty. It just really showed a different side to him. And it might be because of, been to a Royal Air Force air show, been to a war museum, and been watching Band of Brothers when you've been watching it. Whether that sort of made me
got into a
think
war.
different, got into a war thing, but I just think his character's like really developing and kind of coming into its own, and obviously we know that we learn more about the captain later on, and I'm really looking forward to those episodes. So I think the captain. So favourite episode or scene?
So I went with scene. My favourite scene it also involves Humphrey, and it's the one that got biggest laugh at me. Humphrey and Fanny's affair, like all the different scenes.
What?
Yeah, all through that.
No, that's crazy.
It's such a stupid throwaway plot, but I completely forgot about it, so it caught me off guard and really made me laugh. Just because I didn't expect it in Ghost, to be honest. So
yeah,
I thought it was funny. It's just really funny. So and that's the one that taken away in this second viewing, or is it second or third viewing? I can't remember if we watched it three times. Yeah. In this second viewing, it's the one thing that I remember the most from this series. So yeah. How about you?
That's just mad. That's just mad. So I picked a quote and then a couple of scenes that I'd like to go back to, not necessarily like a whole episode. So the quote that I think of the series, I don't know why, is when Fanny was talking about the Titanic, and she says, "People forget that before the iceberg, it was a perfectly pleasant trip." I think that's classic Fanny. I enjoyed Kitty's birthday when they're all singing in the kitchen, "Happy Birthday to Kitty."
Yeah.
Because it just shows that, like, Alison singing, she thinks with all the ghosts, but in reality she's just shouting out "Happy Birthday" to on her own.
Yeah.
And then, so I had a few because I just could not choose. The captain and Humphrey, their little scene when Mike was selling life insurance.
Oh yes,
and with Mr. Cheese.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that scene. Kitty and Pat dancing. I thought that was a really good scene.
There's a lot
as
of
well.
stuff actually, from this series.
And then Mike, Robin, and Julian with Mike's boss when they send the email, the kisses on the emails. So there's quite a few, but I think if anything, looking through my notes on like trying to pick an episode or a scene that I really enjoyed, although as like other people have kind of sort of agreed, this series is maybe one of the weaker ones as we're going through. There's still some really great moments and still some really great writing and acting from like the actors and the writers. So I think it's important to kind of look at it holistically, I suppose, and be like, well, it's maybe we've not enjoyed that. It's that Lucy story, isn't it? That's kind of not what people enjoyed.
But on the flip side, I respect them for taking a risk on that because it's not something they've done before.
Definitely.
This like series long story. So I do respect them for trying it.
Yeah.
Even if it didn't work.
Yeah, so I think I've really given my overall feedback of series 3 because it's kind of, it is that really. It's like just you have to remember that there are points. It's I don't know. It's a bit like when you look at like. I don't know, I can't think of something else where, I don't know, I'm just going to make a reference, but then doesn't make sense. But yeah, I think it's a good series. I still think, I still want to say series 1 is the weakest so far. Then maybe 2. 1, 3, 2, I think, for me so far. Yeah. And that's what I would kind of,
I think I've kind of said similar kind of things. It's definitely weaker than Series 2. I liked that it had that long plot. Still not a bad series. No real weak episodes, to be honest. Like, even the weakest episode, I think, was...
We're still like a 7.5.
Yeah.
Which, you know, we were given... In Series 1, we were given 5s.
Yeah.
Maybe even a 4. I don't know if you gave a 4.
I don't know if I went that low, but yeah. I still think there's no bad episodes. Even the first series, there's no bad episodes.
No, they're all great episodes. They're just not as good.
Yeah.
But I mean, looking forward to August, when we're going to be going straight into Series 4, because I know there's some just great episodes coming up. Series 4 and Series 5 kind of mix for me. I can't remember what's in it, but I'm not going to look ahead. I want to just go in and watch each episode as we have been doing, kind of blind, really.
Even knowing the episode titles doesn't give it away, really.
No, but exciting things to come, I think. Thanks for listening. We love to hear what you think, and if you'd like to keep up to date with when new episodes of the podcast are released, you can follow us on our Instagram and our Facebook profile. Just search Haunting Button House. You can also get in touch via email at hauntingbuttonhouse@outlook.com.